The invitation came via text on a Tuesday afternoon. Family dinner Friday. Mom's making your favorite. Be there at 6. My brother Tyler had sent it to the group chat, and within minutes, everyone had responded with variations of, "See you there," and heart emojis. I was the last to reply 3 hours later with a simple, "Okay." No one acknowledged my response. That was normal. In my family, I existed somewhere between an afterthought and a mild embarrassment. Present but not particularly valued, tolerated but not celebrated. I sat in my office on the 42nd floor of a downtown Seattle high-rise, looking out at the city skyline as the late October sun painted everything in shades of amber. My monitor displayed real-time analytics. 94 million active users across 127 countries. Revenue projections for Q4 showing $287 million. Server capacity at 73%, well within optimal range. My company, NextGen Analytics, had revolutionized how businesses understood customer behavior through AI-powered predictive modeling. We'd gone from a scrappy 3-person startup in my apartment to a company valued at $4.2 billion in just under 7 years. But to my family, I was still just playing business on the internet. Growing up in Bellevue, I'd always been the odd one out. Tyler was the star, varsity football, student body president, full scholarship to USC, MBA from Wharton, now a managing director at Goldman Sachs. My sister Rachel had followed a similarly golden path. Debate team captain, Yale undergraduate, Harvard Law, partner at a prestigious Seattle firm by 34. I'd been the weird kid who preferred coding to sports, who spent lunch periods teaching myself Python instead of socializing, who got excited about algorithms and data structures while everyone else was excited about homecoming. You need to develop social skills, Mom used to say, not unkindly. Computer stuff is fine as a hobby, but you need to focus on real career prospects. She's right, Dad would add. Technology is a tool, not a career. You need something solid. Accounting maybe. Engineering if you're committed to the computer angle. But I hadn't wanted to be an engineer at someone else's company. I'd wanted to build something of my own. At 19, I dropped out of community college to launch my first startup. A simple analytics dashboard for small e-commerce businesses. It failed within a year. My family's collective, "I told you so," was deafening. At 21, I tried again with a different approach. That company lasted 18 months before running out of funding. Maybe it's time to accept that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, Tyler had said over Christmas dinner that year, his arm around his fiancée, his success radiating from every pore. There's no shame in getting a normal job, Jenna. Most people aren't cut out to be founders. I'm not most people, I'd said quietly. Clearly, Rachel had added with a laugh. Most people know when to quit. But I hadn't quit. I'd started NextGen Analytics at 23 with my last $8,000 and a vision for AI-powered customer insights that nobody else seemed to understand. Now I was 30, my company had 412 employees, and we were in final negotiations for a Series D funding round that would value us at $4.2 billion. Tomorrow, Bloomberg was publishing an exclusive feature. The Woman Who Made AI Accessible. How Jenna Morrison Built a $4 billion empire from Her Living Room. I'd known about the article for 2 months. The Bloomberg reporter had spent weeks fact-checking every detail, interviewing my clients, my investors, my team. They'd verified our financials, our user numbers, our technology patents. They'd even spoken with my first investor, who'd given me $50,000 when everyone else said I was crazy. The article was comprehensive and glowing. And I hadn't told my family any of it. Not because I was waiting for a dramatic reveal, but because I'd learned years ago that telling them about my success only invited skepticism and dismissal. They needed external authority to believe anything I said. So I'd stayed quiet. Let them think what they wanted. Built my empire in silence. Friday evening arrived cold and rainy, typical Pacific Northwest autumn weather. I drove to my parents' house in Bellevue, the same sprawling contemporary home where I'd grown up, in my 6-year-old Subaru. Practical, reliable, invisible. The same car I'd been driving since my second startup failed. I could afford a Tesla, a Porsche, anything I wanted. But changing my lifestyle would only invite questions I didn't want to answer. Tyler's BMW was already in the driveway, parked next to Rachel's Audi. My Subaru looked appropriately pathetic beside them. Mom answered the door, her face lighting up with genuine warmth. She loved me, I never doubted that. She just didn't understand me. Jenna. Come in, you look frozen. Are you eating enough? I'm fine, Mom. You work too hard on that computer thing. You need to take care of yourself. I followed her inside, where Dad sat in his usual spot watching the news on their massive TV. Tyler and Rachel were in the kitchen with Rachel's husband Mark, their conversation loud and animated. The startup founder has arrived. Tyler called out when he saw me, his voice dripping with affectionate condescension. How's the internet business, Jenna? Make your first million yet? Rachel laughed, pouring wine. Tyler, be nice. Jenna's very serious about her little tech project. I'm not mocking, Tyler protested, though his grin said otherwise. I think it's great that she has hobbies. Keeps her busy. It's not a hobby, I said quietly, setting my bag down. It's my company. Right. Your company. He made air quotes. How many employees did you say you have now? 3. 4. More than that. 10. That's impressive for a side hustle. I didn't correct him. There was no point. Mom called us to dinner and we settled around the familiar table. The food was excellent as always. Roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables. Mom had made her famous apple pie for dessert. So, Jenna, Dad said, cutting his chicken with precision. Your mother mentioned you're still working on that analytics thing. Yes. That's been 5 years now? 7. 7 years. He exchanged a glance with Mom. And you're still able to support yourself? I'm doing fine. Fine, Tyler repeated. That's always your answer. But fine doesn't mean successful, does it? Fine means scraping by. Tyler, Mom said gently. I'm just being honest, Mom. We're family. We should be able to have honest conversations. He turned to me. Jenna, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm genuinely curious. How does your business model work? How do you make money from this internet analytics thing? We provide AI-powered customer behavior prediction tools for e-commerce and SaaS companies. They pay subscription fees based on usage tiers. Rachel leaned forward. And how many companies actually pay for this? Currently, we have enterprise contracts with several hundred clients. Several hundred, Tyler repeated skeptically. That seems like a lot. What kind of companies? Various industries. Retail, technology, healthcare, finance. Can you name any? I took a sip of water. I'm not at liberty to discuss specific clients. NDAs. Tyler and Rachel exchanged knowing looks, the kind that said, see? She's making it up. That's convenient, Rachel said. NDAs preventing you from providing any proof. I'm not trying to prove anything. No, you're just expecting us to believe that you, working alone from your apartment, have hundreds of corporate clients paying for your services. I don't work alone. I have a team. How big a team? Dad asked. I hesitated for just a moment, long enough for them to notice. She doesn't want to say because it's embarrassingly small, Tyler said with a laugh. Jenna, come on. Just be honest with us. You've got maybe 2 or 3 other people. Probably interns or contractors you found on Upwork. Something like that, I said because arguing was pointless. Mark, Rachel's husband, spoke up for the first time. I actually looked at your website once. It looked pretty professional. What did that cost to build? I built it myself. See, that's what concerns me, Dad interjected. You're doing everything yourself. CEO, developer, salesperson, marketing. That's not a company, Jenna. That's a freelance operation. Nothing wrong with freelancing, Mom added quickly. It's just not the same as running a real business. A real business has scale, Tyler explained, his Goldman Sachs training evident in every word. It has infrastructure, capital, growth trajectory. What you have is a lifestyle business at best. It is fine. Not everyone needs to build the next Google. But you should be realistic about what you're doing. I am realistic. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're 30 years old, still living in a small apartment, still driving a car from college, still working on the same project you started in your early 20s. That's not trajectory, Jenna. That's stagnation. Rachel nodded. Tyler's right. And we're worried about you. We're not saying this to be mean. We're saying it because we love you and we want you to have security. I have security. Do you have retirement savings? Dad asked. Health insurance? Emergency funds. Yes to all three. How much in retirement? Tyler pressed. Enough. Enough isn't a number. See, this is what I'm talking about. You're evasive about concrete details because concrete details would reveal that you're not as successful as you want us to believe. I set down my fork carefully, my hands steady. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. No, you're just sitting there being defensive while we're trying to help you. Rachel's voice had that lawyer edge now. Look, I have a friend at Amazon who's hiring for product managers. The pay is $180,000 base plus stock options. I could get you an interview. I appreciate that, but I'm not interested. Why not? Pride. Because I have a company to run. Your internet business, Tyler said, his tone making it clear what he thought of that. Jenna, do you know what I made last year? $1.2 million. Rachel probably made $800,000. That's what real success looks like. That's what happens when you work for established companies with actual revenue. I'm happy for both of you. We're not trying to brag, Rachel said. We're trying to show you what's possible when you make practical choices. Dad stood up to adjust the TV volume. The evening news was starting, though none of us had been paying attention to it. But as he reached for the remote, the anchor's words cut through our conversation. Breaking news tonight from the technology sector. Seattle-based NextGen Analytics has just announced a Series D funding round valuing the artificial intelligence company at $4.2 billion, making it one of the fastest-growing tech startups in Pacific Northwest history. The room went completely silent. On the screen, a professional photo of me appeared, the one Bloomberg had taken for their article. I was wearing a navy blazer, looking directly at the camera with quiet confidence. The company's founder and CEO, 30-year-old Jenna Morrison, has transformed how businesses understand customer behavior, the anchor continued. In just 7 years, she's grown NextGen Analytics from a living room startup to a company serving over 900 enterprise clients across 127 countries. Tyler's fork clattered onto his plate. Rachel had gone completely white. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad stood frozen, remote in hand, staring at the TV. Morrison's innovative AI-powered predictive modeling has attracted major investments from firms including Sequoia Capital, Andreessen Horowitz and Greylock Partners, the anchor said. The Series D round was led by SoftBank Vision Fund, with additional participation from existing investors. The company employs over 400 people and reported revenue of $780 million in the last fiscal year. The screen cut to footage of our office building, the 42-story high-rise downtown Seattle, my name listed as CEO on the directory. Bloomberg Television will air an exclusive interview with Morrison tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern, where she'll discuss her company's revolutionary technology and her plans for international expansion. Then the segment ended, cutting to a commercial for luxury cars. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The silence stretched for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 seconds. Finally, Tyler found his voice, though it came out barely above a whisper. That can't be you. It is, I said calmly. But you said, Rachel couldn't finish the sentence. I said I have a company. You assumed it was small. Dad slowly lowered himself back into his chair, his face ashen. $4 billion. $4.2 billion valuation, I corrected. Based on the Series D funding. Actual company worth depends on various factors. Mom was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. Jenna, how long have you known about this? About the funding announcement. We closed the deal 6 weeks ago. The announcement was scheduled for today. 6 weeks, Tyler repeated. You've known for 6 weeks that you were building a billion-dollar company and you didn't tell us? Would you have believed me if I had? The question hung in the air, unanswerable. Rachel grabbed her phone with shaking hands, typing frantically. Oh my God. Oh my God. Jenna, you're all over the news. Bloomberg, TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, Reuters. There are dozens of articles. They're all calling you. She looked up, her face a mixture of shock and something else. They're calling you the most influential AI entrepreneur of the decade. That's hyperbolic, I said. You have over 400 employees, Dad said, his voice hollow. You said you had a team. We thought you meant 3 people. You assumed 3 people. I never specified. Tyler was scrolling through his phone now, his face growing redder by the second. This says your revenue was $780 million last year. This says you have clients including Amazon, Microsoft, Walmart, Target. This says... He looked up at me, his eyes wild. This says you're personally worth $1.8 billion. Net worth estimates are speculative and based on equity valuations. The actual number is private. But it's in that range? Approximately. Mark had pulled up a video on his phone. There's a CNBC interview with one of your investors from 3 months ago. He's talking about you like you're the next Steve Jobs. Rachel was crying now, though I wasn't sure if it was shock or shame or some combination. How did we not know? How did we not see this? You weren't looking, I said simply. But you're our sister. How could we miss that you were building a billion-dollar company? Because you'd already decided what my story was. Computer-obsessed girl playing entrepreneur, probably failing, definitely not as successful as her siblings. Once you decided that, you stopped paying attention to anything that contradicted it. Tyler stood up abruptly, pacing to the window. I need to call my office. Jesus Christ, Jenna, everyone's going to be asking me about you. My partners, my clients, everyone. And I didn't even know. He turned back to me. Why didn't you tell us? I tried. Multiple times over the years. You dismissed it every time. We didn't dismiss it. No. Tyler, 20 minutes ago you asked if I'd made my first million yet. You called my company a side hustle. You said I was stagnating. He had no response to that. Dad's phone started ringing. Then Mom's. Then Rachel's and Tyler's. Don't answer those, I said quietly. It's going to be reporters and people wanting comments. My communications team can provide you with talking points if you need them. You have a communications team, Mom whispered. I have several teams. Communications, engineering, sales, marketing, customer success, legal, finance, HR. That's what happens when you employ 412 people. 412, Dad repeated mechanically. The news said over 400. You know the exact number. I'm the CEO. I know everything about my company. Rachel's phone buzzed continuously. She looked down at it, her face going from pale to green. I'm getting messages from everyone. The senior partners at my firm. My law school friends. Everyone's asking if I'm related to you. You are. They're asking why I never mentioned it. What are you telling them? She couldn't answer. Mark was still scrolling through articles, his voice numb as he read aloud. Morrison's technology has been called revolutionary by industry analysts. Her AI algorithms can predict customer behavior with 94% accuracy, enabling businesses to optimize everything from inventory management to marketing strategies. Major Fortune 500 companies credit her platform with generating hundreds of millions in additional revenue. Hundreds of millions, Tyler said. You've generated hundreds of millions in revenue for other companies. Our clients see an average ROI of 340% within the first 18 months, I confirmed. Mom finally moved, standing up and walking over to me. She didn't say anything, just looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Mom, it's okay. It's not okay, she interrupted, her voice breaking. Nothing about this is okay. We've been treating you like a failure. Like a child playing pretend. And all this time you were... She couldn't finish. I was building something, I said gently. Same thing I've been telling you for 7 years. But we didn't believe you. She reached out to touch my face. We didn't believe our own daughter. Dad's phone rang again. This time he answered, his voice automatic. Hello? Yes, this is Robert Morrison. What? A reporter from Bloomberg? No, I can't. He looked at me, his face crumbling. She's my daughter. I don't have any comment. I need to go. He hung up and sat back down heavily. They want to interview me for the extended profile. About what it was like raising a tech prodigy. You don't have to do any interviews, I said. Did you? Tyler asked suddenly. Did you do an interview with Bloomberg? Yes. It airs tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Jesus. He ran his hand through his hair. Everyone I know is going to watch that. Everyone. Rachel's lawyer instincts kicked in. What are you going to say? About us? About your family? I'm going to talk about my company, my technology, and my vision for the future. I'm not going to discuss my personal life unless they ask directly. And if they ask about your family? About whether we supported you? I looked at her steadily. Then I'll tell the truth. Which is that you loved me but didn't understand what I was building. That you wanted me to be successful but couldn't recognize success when it didn't look like what you expected. Tyler sat back down, his head in his hands. That makes us sound like terrible people. You're not terrible people. You're just people who made assumptions and never questioned them. I'm a managing director at Goldman Sachs, he said, his voice hollow. I analyze companies for a living. I should have seen this. How did I not see this? You saw what you wanted to see. That I was your little sister who needed guidance and protection. That narrative was more comfortable than considering that I might know what I'm doing. Dad stood up again, this time walking to the window where Tyler had been. I told you to study accounting. I said technology was just a tool, not a career. I remember. I was wrong. Completely, catastrophically wrong. You gave me advice based on your experience. You weren't wrong to do that. You were just limited by your perspective. Don't make excuses for us, Rachel said sharply. We were dismissive and condescending. We treated you like a child playing make-believe. And we were wrong. Mom had started crying harder. You've been coming to these family dinners for years, letting us lecture you and criticize you and offer you entry-level job opportunities, while you were running a billion-dollar company. $4.2 billion, Tyler corrected automatically, then laughed bitterly. Listen to me. I'm still correcting you. I can't help myself. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen, my head of communications probably having a controlled panic attack. The Bloomberg feature wasn't supposed to be public until tomorrow morning. Someone had leaked the funding announcement early. I need to handle this, I said, standing. You're leaving? Mom asked, her voice small. I have a company crisis to manage. The funding announcement leaked 12 hours early. We have protocols for this, but I need to be available. Of course, Dad said quickly. Of course you do. We understand. Do you? I asked quietly. He met my eyes. No. But I want to. I picked up my bag and they all stood, uncertain and uncomfortable. Tyler approached first. Jenna, I need to apologize. What I said earlier about you playing business on the internet, about side hustles and stagnation, I was completely out of line. You said what you believed was true. But I should have asked questions instead of making assumptions. I should have listened to you instead of dismissing you. Yes, I agreed. You should have. Rachel came next. Can we fix this? Can we have a relationship that's not based on us completely misunderstanding your entire life? I don't know, I said honestly. That depends on whether you can see me differently. We see you differently now, she protested. You see my success differently. I'm asking if you can see me differently, the person who's been here all along. She had no answer. Mom hugged me tightly. I'm so proud of you. I should have said that years ago. I'm saying it now. Thank you, Mom. Will you come back? For dinner again, I mean. After things settle down? Maybe. We'll see. Dad walked me to the door. The Bloomberg interview tomorrow. Will you mention us? Only if they ask. And what will you say? I considered the question. That my family loved me but didn't understand me. That I built my success without their support because I didn't have a choice. That sometimes the people closest to you are the last ones to see who you really are. He flinched. That's harsh. It's true. I know. He opened the door for me. For what it's worth, I am proud of you. Even if I failed to show it for 7 years. I know you are, Dad. Now. I walked out into the cold October night, leaving them standing in the doorway, backlit and uncertain. The drive back to my apartment took 25 minutes. 25 minutes where I didn't cry or feel angry or experience any of the emotions I probably should have felt. I just felt tired. My phone rang continuously. I answered the ones that mattered. My COO, my head of communications, my lead investor from Sequoia. The leak actually helped us, my communications director said, her voice excited despite the crisis. The early announcement generated massive buzz. Bloomberg moved up the full feature release to tonight at midnight. They're calling it the biggest tech story of the quarter. Send me the final copy for approval. Already did. Check your email. I pulled into my parking garage, the same modest apartment building I'd lived in for 5 years, and rode the elevator to the 7th floor. My apartment was small but comfortable. 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a living room that doubled as my original office back when the company was just me and my laptop. I could afford a penthouse downtown. A house on the waterfront. Anything I wanted. But this place had history. This was where I'd written the first lines of code that would become next-gen analytics. Where I'd stayed up for 72 hours straight solving the algorithm that would make everything possible. Where I'd cried after my second startup failed and promised myself I'd try one more time. I kept it as a reminder. Of where I started. Of what I built from nothing. My laptop was already open on the coffee table. I pulled up the Bloomberg article, reading through the final version carefully. It was comprehensive. 5,000 words covering everything from my childhood to my current vision for AI's future. They'd interviewed 12 of my clients, all of whom spoke glowingly about our technology. They'd analyzed our financials, our growth trajectory, our competitive advantages. And they'd asked about my family. I read that section carefully. When asked about her family's reaction to her success, Morrison's face becomes unreadable. They love me, she says carefully. But they didn't understand what I was building. To them, working on a computer meant I was playing games or wasting time. They wanted me to get a traditional job with a regular paycheck. They meant well. Did they support her entrepreneurial journey? A long pause. They supported me the way they knew how. Which wasn't the way I needed. Morrison's brother is a managing director at Goldman Sachs. Her sister is a partner at a major law firm. Yet Morrison, who built a company now valued at $4.2 billion, says she felt like the family failure for years. They measured success by traditional metrics. Prestigious companies, impressive job titles, steady paychecks. My success looked different, so they couldn't see it. Does that bother her? She shakes her head. Not anymore. I built what I built because I believed in it, not because I needed their approval. Would it have been easier with their support? Probably. But it also made me more resilient. When the people who love you don't believe in you, you learn to believe in yourself twice as hard. I approved the article and sent it back. At midnight, it went live on Bloomberg's website. Within an hour, it was the top story on every major tech news site. By 2 a.m. I was trending on Twitter. My phone buzzed with texts from Tyler. Just read the Bloomberg article. I deserve everything you said. I'm sorry. From Rachel, the part about being the family failure broke my heart. We failed you. From Mom, I'm going to read this article every day until I've memorized every word. I never want to forget how badly we let you down. From Dad, you were generous in what you said about us. More generous than we deserved. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I opened my laptop and reviewed the Q4 projections. We were launching 3 major product updates next month. We had expansion plans for South America and Asia. We had a world to change. At 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific, the Bloomberg television interview aired. I didn't watch it. I'd lived it. I knew what I'd said. But apparently the rest of the world watched. By 8 a.m. my phone was receiving hundreds of notifications per minute. Friend requests, interview offers, partnership proposals, speaking invitations. And messages from people I'd never met. Your story inspired me to keep working on my startup even though my family thinks I'm crazy. I'm the family failure, too. Thank you for showing that success doesn't look like what everyone expects. You proved that believing in yourself matters more than anyone else's belief in you. At 10 a.m. I finally got out of bed and made coffee. My communications director had scheduled a press call for noon. My investors wanted a strategy meeting at 2 p.m. I had a full day of managing the aftermath of going from invisible to unavoidable. My doorbell rang at 10:30 a.m. I opened it to find my entire family standing there. Mom, Dad, Tyler, Rachel, even Mark. We know you're busy, Mom started. We know you probably don't want to see us. But we needed to come here and say this in person. Say what? Tyler stepped forward. That we're sorry. That we were wrong. That we're going to spend the rest of our lives making this right. You don't need to make anything right, I said. Yes, we do, Rachel insisted. We dismissed you. We belittled you. We treated your dreams like jokes and your success like lies. And then we watched you on Bloomberg this morning talking about how you built a billion-dollar company while feeling like the family failure, and we realized, her voice broke. We realized we did that to you. Dad cleared his throat. The reporter asked you what advice you'd give to other entrepreneurs whose families don't support them. Do you remember what you said? I shook my head. You said, build it anyway. Build it because you believe in it, not because anyone else does. And one day either they'll understand or they won't. But either way, you'll have built something extraordinary. That's good advice, I said. It's heartbreaking advice, Mom said, tears streaming down her face. That's advice you give to strangers, not advice you should have to give yourself. You should have had family who believed in you from the start. But I didn't. And I'm okay with that now. We're not okay with it, Tyler said firmly. We're not okay with the fact that we were the obstacles you had to overcome instead of the support system that helped you build. I looked at them, my family, successful and accomplished in their own rights, standing in my apartment building hallway looking lost and ashamed. Come in, I said, stepping aside. They filed in, taking in my modest apartment with new eyes. You really did build it all from here, Rachel said softly, looking at the living room where my original desk still sat in the corner. This is where it started. Why didn't you move? Dad asked. You can afford anything. This place reminds me of who I was when I started. When all I had was an idea and determination. I never want to forget that. We sat in my small living room, and for the first time in years they asked real questions. Not dismissive questions designed to prove I was failing, but genuine questions about my work, my vision, my journey. I told them about the early days. About the 72-hour coding sessions. About the investors who said no 23 times before one said yes. About the first client who believed in us. About hiring employee number 1, then 10, then 100. They listened without interrupting, without dismissing, without assuming they knew better. I watched your Bloomberg interview 3 times, Tyler said eventually. The host asked you what your biggest challenge was. You said loneliness. That surprised me. Why? Because you have 400 employees. Thousands of clients. You're surrounded by people. None of whom are family, I said quietly. I built all of this while feeling like I was doing it alone. Like no one who mattered really saw what I was accomplishing. Mom's face crumpled. We should have seen it. Yes, I agreed. You should have. But you didn't. And I had to make peace with that. Can we make peace with it? Rachel asked. Can we move forward from here? I don't know, I said honestly. You believe in me now because Bloomberg told you to. Because the whole world is celebrating what I built. But what about the next thing? What if my next venture fails? What if I take risks that don't make sense to you? Will you believe in me then? They exchanged uncertain glances. That's what I thought, I said not unkindly. You believe in my success. I need people who believe in me. Give us a chance, Dad said. Give us a chance to learn how to do that. Maybe, I said. But not today. Today I have a company to run and a media storm to manage. Today I need to focus on what I've built, not on what we've lost. They stood to leave, reluctant but understanding. At the door, Tyler turned back. For what it's worth, I've spent my entire career being the successful Morrison sibling. The one everyone looked up to. And now everyone's looking at me and asking how I didn't see that my sister was more successful than I could ever hope to be. That must be difficult, I said. It's humbling, he corrected. And I needed it. After they left, I stood at my window looking out at Seattle's skyline. Somewhere in one of those buildings my team was working. Building. Creating. Solving problems I'd never have to think about because I'd hired brilliant people to handle them. I'd built something extraordinary. Not because my family believed in me, but because I believed in myself when no one else would. And that, I realized, was the real victory. The Bloomberg feature called me the most influential AI entrepreneur of the decade. My family was just the last to know.